We are live, dear. Let's hit it.
All right. Peace, shalom. To our brothers and sisters, to the tribes of Israel, to the believers, especially to the believers. Thank you once again for joining us. Another night of study, Bible study. Hey, shalom.
Hey, shalom.
Uh,
Surprise, surprise.
as we pick up and we survived. We survived the mass of madness. There's a lot of residue left over, but we here. So we'll be in John 20. We're making our way. We're about to be finished with our Bible study of John or Yochanan. So hope this has been insightful to everybody. It's been insightful for us. And it's the random wild text you get out of nowhere. Anyway, but it's been very insightful, been very good. Being able to pull out some different, see some things, and then kind of go over some things we would previously had already been teaching and kind of had an understanding on. So we're in John 20. We'll have a small prayer. Almighty Yah, we praise you, we thank you. We ask Almighty Yah that you would just open up our mind and our understanding. Almighty Yah, fill us with more of spiritual wisdom, spiritual knowledge, that we may be able to grow by the Spirit, Almighty Yah. We may be able to operate through the Spirit, Almighty Yah. We may be able to produce a fruit for those who are in need of a harvest, Almighty Yah. So, Yah, we thank you and we praise you, and we just ask that you would just help us to be able to uncover the stones of your scriptures, Almighty Yah. We may be able to pull out the precious things or find the things that are lost, Almighty Yah, that we may precious that which is good, Almighty Yah, that we may have more of a desire for things that are good and have more of a disdain and a bad taste in our mouth for things that are evil. So, Yah, we just thank you and we praise you. Just ask you would be with those this day who are with us, be with those, Almighty Yah, who are not able to make it, be with those. There are so many that are suffering. So many are dealing with cancer right now. We send our prayers for them. Those who just lost loved ones, Almighty Yah, and having to get ready for services and all this. We ask that you would be with them, that you would lift them up, Almighty Yah, that you would just be with all the parties that are involved, that you would help us, Almighty Yah, to be able to help those who are in need. We have a desire, Almighty Yah, to do the right thing, to love our neighbors, we will love ourselves. So, Yah, we thank you and we praise you. Just ask you to bless us this night with these words. In Yahshua HaMashiach, let me pray. Amen. Get something down. Just excuse me. All right, so we are in John 20. Let's start in verse 1. The first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene early, when it was yet dark, unto the sepulchre, and seeth the stone taken away from the sepulchre. Then she runneth and cometh to Simon Peter and to other disciples whom Yahshua loved, and saith unto them, They have taken away the Lord out of the sepulchre, and we know not where they have laid him. Peter therefore went forth, and that other disciple, and came to the sepulchre. So they ran both together, and the other disciple did outrun Peter and came first to the sepulchre. So one brother was like a Usain Bolt. All right. And one brother was like Usain Bolt, just darted past him. But something we want to look at is that in John 20:1, we are told that the first day of the week, okay, and Miriam comes early when it is yet dark, okay. So we can assume, right, that this is after the sun has went down, okay, and that we are going into a new week, therefore a new day, even though it is still, as the scripture says, dark, dark outside. Okay.
Yeah. And you can make that connection to Matthew 28, where it said in verse 1, now after the Sabbath, as the first day of the week began. So,
Okay. So we get an understanding that things start anew after sundown. Okay. All right. Things start anew. Shalom, Pastor Bow. Things start anew. Okay. So we have a scene, have a picture being painted, verses 1 through 4. And verse 5, and he stooping down and looking in saw the linen clothes lying, yet went he not in. Then cometh Simon Peter. So he's like, you see the clothes? I ain't going up in there. You go up in there. It's like, I ain't going up in there. Verse 6, then cometh Simon Peter, following him, and went into the sepulchre, and seeth the linen cloths lie. And the napkin that was about his head, not lying with the linen clothes, but wrapped together in a place by itself. Okay, so this right, Shabbat is over. They are rushing to the tomb. She says, "Hey, see the stone's been taken away." Right? If you've ever looked at so Ron Wyatt, I think maybe Ron Wyatt, when he had a video, I don't know if you can find it or not, but he had a really good video on the size of the stone and the tomb, the actual tomb where Yahshua was laid, and the imprint of the stone. And mud was huge. Like, I don't know how many men you'd have to close that up, but it was huge. But anyway, so they see that huge stone out the way, and they hustling. Okay, now you got to remember it's dark, so they probably got some light, right? Got the lanterns and stuff like that. So they get there, and it's dark. It's still dark. You know how a lot of you Israelites is. Y'all scary. Boogity boo, boo, boo. Some of y'all scary. So one brother like, I'm not going in there. Like, I look in, but I ain't stepping in. All right, and we get Cephas come in, and what he sees that the napkin, or then comes Simon Peter, following him, he went to the sepulchre and see that the linen clothes lie, and the napkin that was about his head, not lying with the linen clothes, but wrapped itself in a place by itself. So you got the clothes in there, nobody in there, and then the napkin that's supposed to be over the face, over the head, is like folded up, and it's separate, right? It's in a separate place, like it was purposely laid there, right? It wasn't just kind of like randomly just thrown. It was purposely laid there. Now we're going to look at something in the Torah, and then we're going to try to make because we know that Yahshua was continually showing who he was, or telling you who he was without saying who I am, So let's turn to Deuteronomy 22. We're going to keep your finger. We're going to come right back to John, this 20th chapter. And this is it's only 31 verses, so we won't be up all night. Okay, and, we're about at the end of this book. But Deuteronomy 22. We'll look at something. All right, Deuteronomy 22, and I'm gonna pull up. Yep, perfect. Okay, Deuteronomy 22. We're gonna be in verse 13. All right, we'll look at the scripture, and it reads: "If any man take a wife and go in unto her and hate her, and give occasions of speech against her, and bring up an evil name upon her, and say, I took this woman when I came to her, I found her not a maid. Then shall the father of the damsel When it says not a maid, it's referring to her virginity.
Yeah.
Okay, her being a virgin. Okay, so it's probably the Hebrew word is probably the same. They just translated it differently. But anyway, as far as translated from to English, then shall the father of the damsel and her mother take and bring forth the tokens of the damsel's virginity unto the elders of the city and the gate. Okay. And the damsel's father shall say unto the elders, I gave my daughter. Who shall say this? The father, okay, of this damsel, or the father of this virgin, or the father of the pure one. The father of the pure one, I gave you something good. And the damsel's father shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter unto this man to wife, and he hates her. And lo, he hath given occasion of speech against her, saying, I found not thy daughter a maid, and yet these are the tokens of my daughter's virginity. And they shall spread the cloth before the elders of the city, and the elders of the city shall take that man and chastise him. Okay, we're going to look at I had a pen with a little rubber thing, stylus, just so I can use on my phone. I ain't, I know where I'm going. I just wanted my stylus because I like it. Sorry, I guess I ain't got it. Sorry, I'm gonna worry about it.
You can still use your finger.
Yeah, I'm using my finger. Yes, understood. Okay, so we're gonna look at something. We're gonna take an emphasis on this section is really about, and we have to follow me here. We're talking about a man and a woman, right? And we're talking about the woman being pure, and the father has given someone away, and the person that they've given away is pure, they're perfect. And the problem is that the recipient says, I hate you. I don't want to be with you. And so what you do is that, okay, well, the next morning, so something happened that night. Okay. And then the proof is the tokens of the virginity. And you take the sheet and you spread the sheet. Now, without me going there, but I'm going to go there. There are different West African cultures, different West African traditions where you celebrate that. You celebrate that. You take the sheets, as in these people have been betrothed. We've set apart. We've set up the marriage. It's been arranged, and then that night, happens, and then we're gonna take the sheets, and we're going to show the sheets in joy. So, Deuteronomy 22. There is something. So there's laws around. There's already a structure around this, and it's called the tokens of virginity. Okay, to prove that this person here, now I'm not going male or female, this person is pure, and this is brought out, okay, to the elders of the city. All right, so tokens in verse 15. Okay. So this is talking about the tokens of virginity, or the proof. We're Deuteronomy 22.
15.
Okay, so now you got yours up.
Yes.
Let me see yours. That's all right. I gotta pull out another phone. Ain't getting over on me. All right. The virginity.
Oh, I didn't have that pulled up. I don't know why it's not doing it.
Oh, internet. Think you're slick. All right. You got your Tanakh. Oh.
But it's still right there.
Okay. Well, I need anyway. That's okay. So the tokens, if we're looking at it on the Hebrew side,
the evidence.
The tokens of the damsels of virginity is Na'ar.
Yeah. I had to turn off my Wi-Fi.
Okay. Thank you.
You're
All
welcome.
right. So Na'ara. Okay. Na'ara. So this is if you got your letters down, okay. Nun, Ayin, Resh, Hey. Okay. Na'ara. And this is what's used to describe the evidence, or what some would say the tokens or the evidence. Okay. And it is Na'ara. So if you have, like, if you look at some things in blue letter, right, it's gonna, sometimes they'll join, like it says out of the evidence of the girls, right? So it's just should just be tokens. Like, we're not talking about the girl, but we're talking about a specific thing, right? We're talking about these tokens. Okay. So when we look at the Na'ara, okay, it is a feminine noun. Okay. All right. And it's used to describe like a damsel or a young girl. It's used to describe, I think the for virgin is Batumla, somewhere around that line. Okay, I'm not going to go back and forth on that. But anyway, so that's what is used, is talking about this young girl. So that's a feminine noun, right? So does that got to do anything? All right, now that word, that feminine noun, would have to come from a masculine noun. Okay, all right. So if we look on the masculine noun, then we have Na'ar. Okay, Na'ar. So Na'ar can mean a boy, a lad, a servant. Okay, now this is where the light should start flickering. Okay, especially servant. Now, before Mashiach is executed and set up and exit, which he allows to happen, but before that happened, what was one of the last things he taught his Talmudim? There's some people, some human beings in here. What was one of the last things he taught his Talmudim?
That the things that are happening must happen so that he may rise again.
Right. Okay. What else? Something that he specifically taught them, that you got to be able to master this.
To serve as he served.
To serve as he, so you would call him a
teacher.
Okay, but you would also call that a person that serves is a
servant.
So Na'ar. Na'ar means young man, a lad, or a servant. Okay, now this word for token is the feminine noun for, okay, token that we're looking at in Deuteronomy 22. But Na'ar is the masculine version of that. Okay, now let's look at the child root. The child root is, once again, Na'ar. So sometimes we'll have a word that's a child root, and then its noun is just like it. I mean, just like it, right? If we were to say Malak, to rule, right? Your Melech is the king. Okay. So sometimes we have that. Sometimes the vowel sounds, they sound just the same. Sometimes the vowels change to more of a sagol. But anyway, all right. So Na'ar is the child root. All right. And Na'ar, this root or this action verb, it means to shake, shake out or off. To shake out or off. Okay, especially to shake out, to be shaken, to shake something off. Okay, so we get this root word of shaking something off, shaking something out, and then we get this picture of a woman showing that, hey, I am exactly what I am, pure, because here are my na'ara. Here's my na'ara. Here are my Here's my virginity. Here's my sheets. Okay. So we had this, and now we're looking at this same word. There's like a fork in the road. It can be feminine, feminine noun. It can be a masculine noun. If it's a masculine noun, a lad, a boy, or a servant. So I have to ask a question. These sheets, these linen clothes, and the napkin that was found placed strategically, is this showing that someone shook something off? And they shook something off and they left evidence. Well, what do they leave evidence of? 1 Peter 2. We ain't going to be on this one all night. You're going to have to chew on it and go back and look for yourself. But 1 Peter 2. Because remember, he always did signs and all. And what was one of the main things he said? That lo, I come in the volume of the book. And in the book is written of me. Okay. 1 Peter 2 and 22. 1 Peter 2 and 22. Look what something that Kepha says. He says that who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth. Who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth. What does that mean? What does that got to do with anything? Well, we're talking about Yeshua, who is also called the what? Lamb. He's also called the Lamb. He was sacrificed. Okay. We also have we also have Na'ar and most sides so good. Okay, so there's no guile, there's nothing found in his mouth, right? Clean, pure. So we have a section in the Torah about if a father gives you someone, and you say, hey, you know what? I don't like. I hate her. She's not pure, right? She's not a damsel. She's not a maid, but she's not pure. Well, I have proof here. So how can Mashiach leave any kind of proof? Like how can he bring a certain little section of the Torah just like that to life? To where they come in there and all they find is linen clothes and a napkin folded. Meaning what? Man was pure. No guile was found in his mouth. Pure. Perfect. Like a pure virgin. Perfect. No nothing. So going back to the word na'ar, the masculine, that's why I stumbled on this morning. I'm gonna read this, and so sometimes in the section on Blue Letter, they pull a lot of stuff from BDB, which is Brown Drivers Briggs, very very good. You're gonna have to be able to read some Hebrew to be able to read that book, but I'm just saying it's very 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 good. So this is something they pulled out, and it's talking about, because we talk about this about Hebrew being what kind of language? Afro-Asiatic language. Okay, and that there are that it is a family, just one branch. What other languages are Afro-Asiatic languages? Hebrew, got what else?
Hebrew, Arabic,
Aramaic, Ethiopic. Okay, so we're going to look at something that they pulled out in what is an Arabic aspect of the word na'ar. Okay. Let me see. In like manner, the Arabs in the more elegant language use masculine nouns also in speaking of the other sex, and leave out the feminine termination, which is used in common language, a bridegroom and bride. A bridegroom and bride. So another aspect from an Afro-Asiatic mindset is that even though in Deuteronomy 22, we're talking about a woman, right? But this word na'ar, used Arabic-wise, it can be bride or bridegroom. You follow me? Bride or bridegroom, as in masculine or feminine. It can substitute either way, okay? Because we're talking about describing something, okay? Which language is old woman, common, mistress, wife, so on and so forth. And it goes into some other stuff. But my point being is that he fits this description in Deuteronomy 22 because he left something behind, right? He left something behind that was to show, and Peter says it best, that there was no sin in him, neither was guile found in his mouth. Okay, so that this is a example, a replica of him leaving his tokens behind to prove that he was pure. The only reason why you have the tokens is to prove that she was pure, especially if he hates her and he does not want to be with her. Remember, last chapter, what were we talking about? That he was the king of the Yehudim. And remember what the Yehudim said? We don't want him as king. Who was their king? Caesar. We don't want him as king. Caesar is our king. So they hated him. What's the course of Deuteronomy 22? If the one whom the Father gives is hated, well, here's the proof. The sheets is the proof. And you will not believe this. They hated him. And what did Yahshua say over and over? Who did he come from?
The Father.
The Father. So in Deuteronomy 22, it just says, hey, the father of this child, of this damsel, right? But when we look at the word na'ar, I thought it was very, very good. BDB pulls out that from an Afro-Asiatic perspective, some of these words, they don't, and I get it. It's hard for me too. We think Western, right? And you just man, woman, so on and so forth. It was like, but not always with every word, with every interpretation of something. It can be masculine, it can be feminine. Right. So when we start doing our study and stuff, we see feminine noun, masculine noun. But it was like certain words, this word right here, it can be intertwined, bride, bridegroom. Well, man, who would fit that? That the Father gave him to the people, and the people said, no thanks. So the next morning, right, they have his tokens left. You won't believe what the elders of the city said. We don't shut them up. They start trying to cover it up. Okay, so that's something for you to chew on, but that's not there in. We'll turn back to John now. Not there for just any reason. And you also want to look at in John, might have been 11 with Nazareth. When Lazarus. When Lazarus had the napkin.
Yeah,
right. He was wrapped up in the clothes too.
Yeah, mention that it showed that it was a greater resurrection than Lazarus, because in John 11:44 it says, "And he who had died came out bound hand and grave clothes, and his face was wrapped with a cloth." So he don't put the cloth down. Grave clothes is gone. So you do see that as well. So that's a great point.
So this is something that we would so this is like, it's deeper than just the only way to kind of correlate that is just like a man and a woman having sex, and that the woman being a virgin, and the sheets and the blood and so on and so forth. And the only way to kind of replicate that, we're talking about something that is divine, and that, hey, someone went down to sleep and they came up from their sleep, and they were able to come up. They were able to go from this side of mortal to the other side and come out a immortal because of the purity. And here is the proof, and it's in your law. But was it what he tell them? He said that the do as Moses, or they I don't want to mess that up.
They sit in Moses.
They sit in Moses' seat,
Somewhere.
right?
Mm-hmm.
They sit in Moses' seat, and that, you know, do what they say,
but don't do
what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they can quote Deuteronomy 22, but can you see what he left behind?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Peter later comes back and says, "Hey, this man, no sin." Right, because this is beyond Yahshua having some sex. This is beyond that. This is no sin. He even broke it down. No guile in his mouth. Okay, so that was just between verses 5 and 7, and we use Deuteronomy 22, 13 through 8, 1 Peter 2 and 22, and the Hebrew word for token. If you go look it up, you're going to have na'ara, and you just got to keep looking from feminine noun to masculine noun. Look what Brown Driver's Brig says about the masculine noun of na'ar, and then the child root for na'ar, which is na'ar. So, but anyway, let's pick back up in verse 8. Then went in also that other disciple which came first to the sepulchre, and he saw and believed, and as yet they knew not the scripture, that he must rise again from the dead. Then the disciples went again unto their own home. Okay, so it says here that for as they knew not the scripture. So there was a lot of things going on. It was like, oh, you ever heard it say that phrase? That went over my head, then over somebody's head. There was a lot of stuff going on. All right, so let's go to Psalm 16, please. What you been doing? You been in my notes?
No, I haven't. No, I'm not in your notes. If you look right here. No, look.
I don't believe.
Whatever.
I didn't see it.
Look.
I didn't see it. I can't lie. I got my glasses. I got my glasses on. Psalm 16 and 10. And it reads, "For thou wilt not leave my soul in hell," or the what? Sheol, grave. Right. So, hallelujah. "For thou wilt not leave my soul in Sheol, neither wilt thou suffer thine Holy One to see corruption. Thou wilt show me the path of life. In thy presence is fullness of joy. At thy right hand there are pleasures forevermore." Okay, that's Psalm 16 and 10 through 11. Okay, so they did not have an understanding of what's really going on. Okay, so we would say, well, I mean, brother, Lazarus. Okay, let's turn back to back in John 20 now. What makes difference between Lazarus and Yahshua is that when Lazarus comes back, he's the same body. Yahshua come back, things are not the same. Things are not the same. Right? Things are not the same whenever he come back. When he come back, it's different. It is not the same. Okay. They got a glimpse of that at the Mount of Transfiguration. They got a glimpse of that. Okay. So now we're back in John 11. 20 and 11.
Are you going back to John 11?
Yeah, 20 and 11.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. No problem.
20, and then you got some?
No.
Okay. John 20 and 11. Okay. So put that in your notes too. That was Psalm 16, 10 through 11. That he would not, that Yah was going to pull him out. He was going to pull him out of the grave. So if we even wanted to look at Lazarus, well, Lazarus came out, but did he come with all power? Did he come with authority? Right. So in the whole aspect of the token, that child root was to shake off, right? Yahshua, he shook it off. He shook it off. He shook off being immortal. He shook off death. He shook off the grave. He shook off all the things that happened. He shook it off and came out like, let me see that for one more time. Something else. Thank you. Because being brought back to my mind, I say thank you. I get out of here. Okay, the etymology of Na'ar, the child root, probably identical with Na'ar, another word, Na'ar, same, through the idea of rustling of mane, which usually accompanies the lion's roar. So not only are we just talking about shaking, think of a lion. You somewhere and you in your Jeep on a safari trip, thinking you safe. Big old lion over there, rustling that mane. And he rustling that mane, shaking that mane, and roar! That's what Yahshua did. This is the child root for Na'ara, the tokens. Because you won't believe what happened. He shook about that thing. We're going to read and see. The angels were just like, what y'all here for? Did you not remember what he said? So he bust out like a lion. It's in your book. Okay, the etymology of that word, like a lion, rustling with his mane, big old mane, and then roars afterwards. That's what your Savior did.
Amen.
And he lied. No. Verse 11. But Miriam stood without at the sepulchre, weeping as she wept. She stooped down and looked into the sepulchre and see if two angels in white sitting, the one at the head and the other at the feet, where the Yahshua had lain. And they said to her, Woman, why weepest thou? She said unto them, Because they have taken away my Lord, and I know not where they have laid him. And when she had thus said, she turned herself back and saw Yahshua standing, and knew not that it was Yahshua. Yahshua said unto her, Woman, why weepest thou? Whom seekest thou? She, supposing him to be the gardener, said unto him, Sir, if thou have borne him hence, tell me where thou hast laid him, and I will take him away. Yahshua said unto her, Mary. She turned herself and said unto him, Rabboni, which is the same master. Yahshua said unto her, Touch me not, for I am not yet ascended into my Father, but go to my brethren, and say unto them that I ascend unto my Father and your Father, and to my God and your God. Okay.
Can I talk?
Yes, please.
All right.
Please.
Yeah. Just so when you just go back over that, his grave clothes are lying there, so he has on new clothes. You have Peter and another disciple looking in. They didn't understand the scripture, so they went away. So she's seeing them go away. And so then she looks in, and upon her looking in, she sees two angels in white sitting there. I don't know who she thought they were, but that she sees angels in white sitting there. And then they ask her why she's crying. And because they've taken him away and she doesn't know where they are. And then there's Yeshua, but she does not recognize him. So like you said, like he looks different, because you've known him all this time. And now he looks different to where you assume that he's somebody else, and he is dressed differently. He is clothed in something different to where until he called her by name, she didn't know who he was. So.
And something else to think about is that I know a lot of time we talk about emotions, and that we got to be right spiritually stable and not emotionally driven. When you're emotionally driven, you cannot think in like a serious matter. This is a very serious matter for them, right? So yeah, we can read the text and say there were two angels there, and we're thinking, angels, but in her mind, at that, all the things that have transpired, okay, wow, the last 3 days have been off the chain, okay, off the chain wild. And she's under the impression that, hey, if you just tell me where his body is, like his body ain't here. Like I saw what happened to him. Like where's his body at, man? Just tell me where his body at. And not realizing, right, that this is what he had said. But when the emotions take over, it's hard for humans to focus. It's hard to think. It's hard to, and this is very traumatic. We talk, when we get it done, you'll see about trauma, the effects of trauma. And sometimes there's one person that's, getting the abuse and they're traumatized, but you seeing something causes trauma on you. This is fresh. Okay. This was supposed to be the answer to all our problems. The prayers have been answered. The scriptures brought them back to life, and the trauma, the effect of this. So now it's like, man, just what y'all do this by? The other brothers, they gone scratching their head. I'm so tired. I don't even feel like walking. I'm just gonna stay here. It's kind of like Uriah. Uriah said, man, look, Israel battling, all this stuff going on, and I'll sleep at the king door. I'm not going home to lay down with my wife. I'm at the foot of the king. So we have Miriam at the foot of the king still. So then there's some angels there. Okay, and then Yahshua says her name, probably a certain way that only she would know, and then she recognized, she could see him for who he was. Okay. So the ascension, we talked about we had before the ascension, right? This is what the writer of Hebrews, right? The book of Hebrews, the book of the Avarim, talks about the great high priest, right? So we talked about last week about how certain things happen in John chapter 19, right? That Caiaphas, the high priest, what did he do? What did he do?
He tore his garments.
He tore his garments, right? So he nullified his status, right? Moses, tell Aaron and his sons, do not do this. He did it, right? And then we have Yahshua, who's getting ready to, as they feel like he's about to get what he got coming. It's like, yeah, he really is, just not how you think it's going to be, right? So we have Pilate calling him king. And we have Caiaphas giving him, right, because of his emotion, he gave him his high priesthood. So we get to the book of Hebrews, and all they talk about is the great high priest in heaven. So we get to verse 17. He says, touch me not, for I am not yet ascended to my Father, but go to my brethren, or go tell them that I ascend to my Father and your Father, and to my Elohim and your Elohim. So this should help us understand Hebrews even more because of the things that transpired in John chapter 19. And then we get into John 20, and Yahshua has perfect, clear understanding of what he's going to do once he ascends. He's going to be a even better advocate and representative for us as a high priest. I was the lamb. He the only one that can be the sacrifice and then the sacrificer. Does that make sense? He's the only one that can be the king in one. He can be the virgin in Deuteronomy 22. He can provide the token. I mean, he's the only one. Once again, I come in the volume of the book. So there's not nothing that you're going to find in the Torah that does not fit him. He shouted on the cross. You won't. He shouted to his father. You won't believe who else shouted to their father. Esau shouted, didn't he? He gave a loud shout to his father. And his father said, hey, man, ain't nothing I can do for you. So look, there's not nothing that Yahshua does not cover when it comes to the Torah. It's not nothing. Like he is big time. All right. So, you got anything?
Yes.
All right. So this should help us understand Hebrews even more. Okay. That he is the great high priest. Okay. Verse 18, Miriam Magdalene came and told the disciples that she had seen the Lord and that he had spoken these things unto her. Okay, now verse 19, then the same day. So that means in verse 1 of this chapter, it was after Shabbat. It said very early, it's still dark. And now we done had all this stuff happen, right? They ain't giving us every detail. Folks is running here, folks is on foot. So then the same day at when? At evening, being the first day of the week, when the doors were shut, where the disciples were assembled for fear of the Yehudim, came Yahshua and stood in the midst and said unto them, peace be unto you. Shalom. Okay. Shalom Aleichem. All right. So from the sundown to the sundown, that was a day. Sometimes we get in trouble. We try to make things we try to be too smart. He just wants us to be some things we just gotta be simple. We just gotta keep it simple. It's a saying, keep it simple, stupid. Just keep it real simple. Ain't gotta be all lavish and because that's what the ancestors did. And they took the word and they formed the word, or they put things around the word to make it fit them, or to fit their lifestyle, whatever it may be. And we ain't got to do all that. Okay. So then the same day at evening, being the first day of the week, it's a long day. The first day of the week, cracking off. When the doors were shut with the assembled the fear of the Yehudim, came Yahshua and stood to them and said, peace unto you. When he had said, he showed unto them his hands and his side. Then were the disciples glad when they saw the Lord. So even when he said, peace unto you, they still was just like, who let him in? Is that your cousin? It's like, is that your cousin? How you get in here? So when he had said, he showed them his hands and his side. They were glad when they saw the Lord. Then said Yahshua unto them, peace be unto you, as my Father has sent me, even so I send you also. And when he had said this, he breathed on them and said unto them, receive ye the Ruach HaKodesh. Whosoever sins ye remit, they are remitted unto them. And whosoever sins ye retain, they are retained. But Thomas, one of the 12, called Didymus, was not with them when Yahshua came. The other disciples therefore said unto him, we have seen the Lord. But he said unto them, except I shall see him in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and thrust my hand to his side, I will not believe. So unfortunately, it's one of them things where people need a show sometime. They need a show to believe, as opposed to just to believing the word. And when it comes to the scriptures, a lot of times, especially in Psalms, the word is used as the word is someone. The word is doing something physical. Okay, so they understood it. Yochanan see Yahshua, and he says what? The word made flesh. Okay, so the word been active for a long time now. The word been putting in work for a long time. But by the time we get to this post-Maccabean era, post-intertestament era, post, rise of Rome, strong position where it's like, hey, the word became flesh and dwelt among men. Verse 25, 26. Yeah. So we got to walk in faith. We got to walk in faith. And after 8 days, again, his disciples were within, and Thomas with them. Then came Yahshua, and the doors being shut, and stood in the midst and said, can you think about that? The doors are closed. Ain't nobody getting up in here. And then all of a sudden, somebody just be like, Shalom, Akalekam. What? Some of y'all is emotional and acting crazy. Ain't no scary movie. Anyway, peace be unto you. Then saith he to Thomas, and repeats what I heard what you said. I heard what you said, Ninja. I heard exactly what you said. Then I'm talking to you, Thomas. Reach hither thy finger and behold my hand. That's why you gotta be careful what you say sometimes. Everything being recorded. Laughing and giggling and poking John. All right. Reach hither thy finger, and behold my hands, and reach hither thy hand, and thrust it into my side, and be not faithless, but believing. You got to do all this so that you will believe, not after what I said. And Thomas answering and said unto him, My Lord and my God. Yahshua said unto him, Thomas, because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed. Blessed are they that have not seen and yet have believed. Many other signs truly did Yahshua in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book. But these are written that ye might believe that Yahshua is the Mashiach. These the anointed, the Ben Elohim. Okay, the Ben Elohim. Okay, the Son of Elohim, Son of God, and that believing ye might have life through his name. I think we talked about this past Shabbat, that before you get to the truth and to the life, you must first be on the way.
Yes, sir.
You got to be on the way. A lot of us is not on the way. Don't care how you say his name. Don't care how you do your hair, how you do your clothes. I don't care what you do. If you are not on the way, some of you can't be on the way because you ain't got no respect for other people. You could care less. Just talking about this morning with a young man. Look, man, we're in an era, we're in a time where love is waxing cold. Love is waxing cold. And you want to know proof of your view. If we in the end, see where love is. It's waxing cold. So this is John 20th chapter. We got John 21. All right, and we will have completed our study of Yochanan. Just go back and look at that in Deuteronomy 22 about the tokens of virginity and check some of that out. This great ascension that in the book of Hebrews is clearly Mashiach is this great, awesome high priest, and we get him telling Miriam that, hey, I got to go up, okay, and tell them, right? Tell them what you see. So this is a very good chapter here, and all of it was good, obviously. But we just kind of see why when we look at John 19 and how Caiaphas reacted and how he was crowned. So we can even kind of get to peep at this Melchizedek, this king of righteousness, because he has to also be a king. So he did come and claim some things when he was here. I think, they had the mindset of, well, he didn't come and blow up Rome and put them away, and all in due time, baby. It's coming, all in due time. And in the meantime, this is the mercy of, as the book, this is the mercy of him. Did you get yourself together? Because Peter's like, folks is calling for this man to come back, and you are not ready. Like, you don't understand the damage that he gonna come. And once again, he shook that mane, and he shake that mane, a lion roar come. He came out that thing roaring. Father called him out. Okay. So, but anyway, that's John 20th chapter. It was 1 through 31.
That's it.
And okay. All right. Well, we will pick back up next week. Thank you, guys. Keep people in mind. We've had some brothers and sisters who worship here and have lost some family. So I want to keep them in mind. We got some, I think, are probably gotten out the hospital. Keep them in mind. We got brothers traveling grace for some, and they getting ready to put some family members down and stuff. So just a lot of stuff going on. We also have the stuff for the homeless this Shabbat, and so just a lot of stuff going on. And all prayers are welcome. And once again, right, with you hear the golden rule when you were a kid, but that's also Yahshua talk about that in Matthew. Okay, That is the whole law and the prophets, that you do unto others as you was expected done unto you.
Mm-hmm.
But when you remove the law and the prophets out of your church system, out your religion, then that makes sense why things wax cold. And then we ain't talking about the world. The world is the world. We talking about so-called believers, Christians. Some of you Israelites mess. But anyway, that ain't the point for tonight. Love everybody. Peace and shalom.
Peace and shalom.
Keep those who are in a tough time right now. Keep them people fighting cancer. Keep them in mind. Keep them in prayer. Be a prayerful people, right? If you want to make it out, you gotta be able to pray yourself through some things.